welcome to my channel. Today we're doing another full matte look, but this time we're going to make it a little bit more colorful. So our main star of today will be the Glam Light palette, but I am of course only going to use the matte shades in this one. So probably these more pastel-y bright shades at the bottom. I did try this palette many a time on its own and I do feel like it's missing some depth. And I don't only mean like darker shades, but also some lighter shades. It's really all very mid-tone for me. So I'm going to add my little Viseart Chroma palette, because this has a matte white, grey and black shade that I can use in my look. So I'm going to do a full face. I hope you enjoyed this video. Real quick before we get started, I want to thank you so much for watching. My name is Cecile, I'm 28 years old, I live in the Netherlands and I try to upload 2 to 3 times a week with makeup related content. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please consider subscribing. On my channel we try to use our old products, but we also like to experiment with some new stuff every now and then. So it's a nice mix of everything. I like luxury and high-end makeup, but I also try some drugstore, well, every now and then again. So yeah, I would highly appreciate it if you would subscribe, and now let's get into the video. I'm going to start off the same way I always do, with my Glam Light Icing Primer. I have this in the shade Classic Vanilla because we are going to start with our eyes. So I'm going to start off with the Glam Light palette. I'm going to take this big fluffy brush by Too Faced and I'm going into the shade Mochi, which is this paler pink. It's not very light at all, but it is the lightest pink in the palette. I'm just going to put that in the crease. I'm trying to build it up a little bit more slowly. These shades are incredibly pigmented. Yeah, that does create a nice soft transition shade. Actually looks a little bit more washed out on camera. In real life this is actually pretty bright. And I'm also going to take this underneath the lower lash line. Now I'm taking the same brush and I'm going into the shade Bubblegum, which is this slightly deeper pink. And I'm going to try to keep this shade a little bit lower in the crease. So this is when I'm going to switch to my Viseart palette. I'm taking a smaller blending brush. This is one by Essence. This is their eye blender brush. And I'm going to take the gray shade. And this gray is actually pretty deep. Just going to take a little bit at first. And I'm putting that in the outer corner and in the crease as well. Because I found that when I try to use these brighter purples and such to deepen up my look, the whole look just becomes very extreme, very cotton candy. And there's not actually a lot of depth. So I thought we could add just a little bit of gray and black. Because if you do an all matte look, there has to be something still that's a little bit more interesting. So in my idea of a matte look, you have to create a ton of depth in the outer corner and then a very light inner corner, and then you get some dimension in your eyes. So yeah, something like this. And now I am taking the same brush and I'm taking a little bit of the black as well. But I'm going to try and keep this a little bit more only in the outer corner. And I'm also taking it a little bit underneath the lower lash line. And as always, connecting it to the outer corner. So I'm cleaning up this brush just a little bit because I want to go back into the gray. smoke out the lower lash line a little bit more. I went a little bit too far here. That's okay, I'm going to take my little wipe. That's why I do my eyes first. Sometimes I get a little bit carried away with my brushes. So, back to where I'm supposed to be. So I'm just going to take that gray. Blend everything out. Now I am going back with my original bigger brush. And I'm going into the shade Mochi again, because I feel like I lost a little bit too much of the pink. So I'm just going to add a little wash of that shade again. I actually feel like this is very similar to the looks that I'm doing with the Huda Beauty Jaguar and Rose Quartz palette all the time. I guess this is my preferred kind of look these days. So now we are going to jazz it up a little bit, because I'm going to give my colored bases from Makeup Revolution another try. I use these almost every day, just seeing how they perform the best, how I can make them work for me. And I guess the problem is just that the Glamlight palette doesn't give enough definition. So when you do a cut crease, there's hardly any color depth difference between the outside and the inside of the crease. So that's why I brought the gray in pretty far. Now we can see if we can create some contrast. I wanted to do something with blue and purple, but I think I'm just going to keep it pink and purple. I think that's going to be prettier. So these are the 5 colors that I have. I did use these 3 a couple of times. So I'm going to try the purple right now. These really are pretty good. They're very pigmented, but they don't set down. So you have to pack on the pigment quite a bit. So we'll see how that works. I'm just going to add a little blob on the back of my hand. These are going to last me a lifetime. So I have my little cut crease brush. And I'm just taking a little bit, and I'll just add a little bit. Right away I'm noticing that this purple shade is a lot less pigmented than the other shades were. So something like this, and I'm tapping out the edges with my finger. Now I did actually use a lot more to create this, so I'm going to add a little bit more on the back of my hand. This little brush actually makes doing cut creases very easy. Going to tap out the edges again. So this is what I've got now. Now I'm going to take a small flat shader brush, going into this shade over here, which is called Honey Lavender. That's going to be my first transition from the black into the cut crease. And I'm really packing on the pigment on my brush. Because like I said, this cut crease base remains pretty tacky. So I'll need a lot of powder. But already this is working a lot better than my previous attempts. I'm going to make a diagonal. This is now, I think, my 3rd or 4th layer. And I can still make it a little bit more intense. But I'm going to stop here. This is bright enough. I'm cleaning up the brush and I'm going into the shade Mochi, which was that light pink. And I'm just going to put this on the front side of the cut crease. Carefully trying to fill in the lines, and I'll blend that into the purple in a little bit. So I used about 4 layers again. And with an almost clean brush, I'm going to tap the edges. Now there's a nice fade from the pink to the purple. Now I'm adding just a little bit of black on the back of my brush, and I'm going to make sure that the outer corner is blended well as well. But I'm just taking a little bit. I want the front to be nice and sharp, but I want the outsides to be nice and blended. Alright, this is going pretty well. Now I can't use an inner corner highlight, but I can use the white from the Viseart palette. And this is what I was hoping the Glam Light would be able to do. I'm going to really pack on the pigment. I'm going to add a little bit of white on top of the inner corner of the pink. And then I'm going into the shade Honey Lavender again, which is right here. And I'm going to add that to the inside of the lower lash line. So that's it for the eyeshadows. This was quite a lot of work, but I do like the end result. Quite a bit of fallout. I'm going to add a pink pastel liner from LA Girl. A lavender would have been pretty too, but I went for pink. And then I'm going to add my little Benefit Damn Girl mascara. So this is what it looks like with mascara. I do want to intensify it just a little bit. So I'm going to add, this is a lash glue liner. And I'm going to add my Demi Wispies. I made a little bit too thick of a line, but you kind of have to hurry with these liners. I'm really not convinced about these lash glue liners yet. I feel like a regular lash glue really makes it look a lot prettier. I'll have to touch that up right there. Alright, that was a little bit of a struggle. Like I said, I'm not really convinced about this product yet. I had to add a little bit of black eyeshadow on top of the liner to make it a little bit more seamless. And I don't feel like the inner corners of my lashes stick very well. And these lashes are usually the easiest ones to put on. So yeah, I'm glad I bought the Kruidvat version, which was a lot cheaper because I don't think I'm going to repurchase this once I'm done with it. But with that said, we have arrived at the skin. I am going to take my hair out of my face. Now the skin part of this tutorial is probably, well, tutorial, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. The skin part of this video is probably going to be very similar to the stuff that I used in my previous video, where I did a more soft glam version, but I did tweak some things, so I hope you still find it enjoyable. I did buy some new products since then. So I'm going to start with some ABH Brow Freeze to stick my brows up nice and high. I guess my brow routine is pretty much set in stone these days. So for primer, I'm going into my Touche Éclat Blur Primer. It looks like this is shimmery, but this is actually not a shimmery product. It's more of a mattifying, blurring primer. But I like to use these kind of smoothing primers underneath more matte foundations. I'm also going to add a little bit of this backup product. I started using this again. because I know Mel Thompson loved this product. She said it made her under eyes crease a lot less. This is the anti-fatigue under eye primer. And since I want to keep the look a little bit more matte today, I don't think this is going to do any harm. It kinda feels like the eye cream version of the YSL Blur Primer. It really makes your eyes feel very smooth and soft. The foundation I'm going to be using is a newer one to me, which is the Maybelline Fit Me Foundation, the matte and poreless one. I have it in the shade 100 Warm Ivory. And this is actually one of the few foundations that I own that claim to be truly matte. I know I have the Guerlain Haute Perfection L'Essentiel foundation, which claims to be more matte, but that's about it. And I think I used that one in my previous video. I guess I do have a tendency for more glowy or natural finishes. So I'm just going to take my brush. I do have some visitors to cover up today. I'm currently in the process of testing out this foundation. I think I really like it. It's actually a pretty flattering matte, especially if you pair it with the right primer. I think I really like the combination with the Hollywood Flawless filter. And the shade is really good for me. So this is one layer of the foundation applied, and you can see immediately that it's, well, it's almost matte. It's actually a pretty flattering matte, like I said. It does leave room for the teensiest bit of luminosity. I think that's the modern way to approach a matte foundation these days. But I like this, I can work with this. For concealer, I'm going to use my Born This Way concealer. I don't think this is technically marketed as a very matte concealer, but most of my other concealers truly are marketed as more luminous, so I think we'll just have to use this one. I think in my last video I did a very extreme contouring thing where I used the white in the absolute inner corner. I'm not going to do that today. I am going to use this contour stick by B Cosmetics. This is from Ici Paris XL, their own brand. I'm just going to use the contour part. So as you can see, I'm going pretty heavy with the contour. I actually went a little bit too high on my chin. But that's because with a matte look you can't add any highlighter. So I'm going to add dimension like this. So I'm going to take my Real Techniques brush and blend out this contour. And I'm just going to let this concealer sit and maximize its power. And I'll blend that out at the very end. Alright, now I'm taking my sponge. This way I really don't need to add that white. This contrast is heavy enough. I'm just going on top of everything with the sponge. And now I'm taking my finger and I'm blending out the concealer right underneath my eye. And as you can see, I am very contoured at the moment. Now I don't feel like I need a lot of powder, and I think using too much powder, even though it is more matte, is going to make you look very dry if you use these many matte products. So I'm just going to take my Essence Brighten Up powder. This is my go-to powder and it doesn't deepen up my foundation. It doesn't really brighten up my foundation shade, but it doesn't deepen it up either. I really need a nice new brightening powder, by the way. I'm just going to make these pores disappear. That's the magic of a little bit of powder. I guess this concealer really does have more of a natural finish. I can see a slight bit of glow everywhere I put it. So I'll put a little bit of powder over the concealer. Now I'm going to take my NYX Lift and Snatch and fill in these eyebrows. Oh yay! Came out a lot at once. See, now it's doing that thing again where it's looking a little bit more red. I don't get this product. It will work perfectly for weeks on end, and then all of a sudden it becomes blotchy and red. I don't understand. So now I feel like I have a pretty intense brow. I'm going to see if I can go back with my spoolie. Yeah, that does seem to help. It still looks a little bit red and a little bit extreme, but also a little bit better. Now I'm going to set my contour using this NARS bronzer. This is in the shade Indecent. So it's not Laguna, but it is pretty cool toned. So I'm going to use this, and then I'm going to blend it out with a lighter color bronzer. And I think I did do that in my previous video as well. And I don't think this is necessary. We did use the cream contour and I think it's plenty visible. But I do want to set it a little bit, and I do want to intensify the effect. But if I was just doing my regular makeup in a version, I would never add this much bronzer on top. So the lighter bronzer I'm going to use is from Charlotte Tilbury. This is actually in the shade Light, and it is a little bit too light for me. I do have a giant pan in it because I need to use quite a bit of this to get the desired effect. But this, as you can see, is perfect for blending out that deeper bronzer. And this Charlotte Tilbury bronzer is very matte. It's even more matte than the NARS bronzer is. And it's very blurring. Yeah, I think that looks nice. For blush, I am of course using a matte blush, but let's not forget that even though we don't use highlighter, you can still add the color. That's what this look was all about. So I'm going to add this blush from Shiseido. It's in the shade Aura Pink. And I feel like this will go perfectly with these cool toned eyes. This is such a beautiful blush. It's actually my project pan this year. Alright, we're skipping highlighters, so now all we need is a lip. And I thought maybe this could work as a nice bright option. Or maybe a matte Revolution from Charlotte Tilbury. No, I think this is too red. Or maybe a bright red. No, I think I'm going to try this Les Macarons from this is an ultra matte liquid lipstick by L'Oreal in the shade 828 Framboise Frenzy. So it might be a little bit too bright with these eyes, but I want to give it a try. Yeah, let's just do it. I mean, if you say a look is going to be colorful, you better bring your bright lipstick. Alright, I don't think it's a perfect match. It actually clashes a little bit. But it is bright, and I think it does match better than a red would. So this is going to be my finished look. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to give a like or a comment or subscribe to my channel. I would really love that. And I'll see you in the next video.